back to some tracks. Hi everybody, and welcome back to Plastic Models by Regular Dude, and the intro video to my next project, the Dragon Panzer I Ausf A early production in 1/35 scale. All right, first of all, big old thanks to Keith Short, my buddy, for giving me this kit to build. He's given me quite a few lately, and this is just another in a long line. So Keith, if you're watching this, thanks amigo, appreciate it. This is the Dragon Panzer I Ausf A early production smart kit. Kit number 6289. All right, so let's take a look at the box, and then we'll take a look at the contents. So, typical Dragon box of the time period. Painted illustration here, this one by James Tainton in 06. It's a smart kit, as I said. Side of the box has 3 schemes, which I'm assuming are in relation to these markings here. All kinds of little teeny tiny writing that I'm not going to bother looking at. Into the box, very faded. Same illustration. This side has some, looks like some CAD renderings. Newly tooled upper hull in great detail. Multi-directional slide molded turret with accurate bolt detail is newly tooled. Gun assembly is movable. Photo etch exhaust cover is a new design, and newly tooled magic tracks. Then on the back we have more CAD renderings. I'm not going to go through all that. It shows an illustration of the photo etch. Some nice detail photos of some of the features, like nice weld seams, nice bolt head and screw head detail. And it's engineered for modeling enjoyment. Plastic parts with enhanced detail, unprecedented value, ready for instant assembly. So that just, man, that makes me feel warm and fuzzy. All right, kidding aside, it looks like this kit can trace its roots back to 2004. Was a new tool. Then from that time period up to, looks like most of the way through 2005, there was new parts added. Looks like 4 different occasions after the initial release. Then in 2006, this kit shows up and it says new tool. And then after that, we've got more new parts, all the way up until 2021. We've got new parts. But the most recent new tool aspect is 2006, which is this kit here. So that's a little brief history from Scalemates. So let's go ahead and crack this box open and take a look at the contents. All right, first let's take a look at the instructions. Typical Dragon instructions. The cover illustration from the box in black and white. And then the parts layout, sprue layout. And this is a good indicator that this is indeed a new tool kit, because all the primary gray sprues, there are no unused parts. So if you're not familiar with Dragon kits, what they will do is they have a sprue parts layout, and in blue they will denote what parts are not used in this particular kit. So some kits, once they get on in age and they get modified for different versions of a vehicle or whatever, you'll see more and more blue show up in the parts layout. This one, the only blue is in this clear part. And I'm going to assume that this is common with the earlier pre-2006 Panzer Kampfwagen 1s. There's probably parts in there that are used for those kits, but not for this one. But anyway, so that's promising. That means there's not going to be a lot of little parts left over, and not going to have to interpret things. The instructions, it's a fold out long map kind of thing. Again, common with model instructions these days. There's a lot of there's a legend right here explaining what each of these markings means when they show up on the instructions. And then we have paint colors in GSI Krios Aqueous and GSI Krios Mr. Color, and then also Model Master Color, which is defunct, so that's kind of by the wayside. Looks like we got 8 colors here, real common stuff: black steel, field gray, wood brown, red brown, burnt iron, khaki green, dark yellow. So those are the colors for the marking options in this kit. Then, as with most armor kits, part 1 starts with the lower hull and running gear. Then we move on to more of those details, tracks, etc., etc. Just typical sequence for an armored vehicle. And then on the back we have the 3 marking options. So we have Panzer Regiment 5 Leichte Division. If I butcher any of these German words, forgive me, my German-speaking friends, because, yeah, I'm an English speaker. That's my primary language. Libya 1941, which I think this is going to be the one I'm going to go with. Then we have 3rd Panzer Abteilung ZBV40 Norway 1940. That was pretty cool. And then we have unidentified unit Nuremberg 1935. So this is probably some kind of training vehicle, and it's sporting a 3-tone camouflage with the Panzer Gray being the base. So yeah, that is the instructions. Okay, next let's take a look at the gray plastic sprues. So we'll start with sprue A. Let me zoom in a bit here. So, as is pretty common with Dragon, the molding is really nice. Virtually zero flash. The molding seam lines are very faint, so cleanup will be easy. Not really a whole lot to talk about here, just some nice molding going on. So this is drive sprockets, idler, road wheels, suspension, return rollers, that sort of thing. So that is sprue A. Sprue B. So it looks like we have the fenders here, more suspension components, hull components, hatches, jack, Pioneer tools. There's bolt cutters there and there, so I'm wondering why there's 2. Maybe one is, maybe it depends on what version one does. Yeah, just a lot of small parts there, but again, very nicely molded. Doesn't look like there are any ejector pin marks to have to deal with, so that's kind of groovy. So yeah, another nice one. Sprue B. Sprue C. So these are turret parts, and looks like upper hull parts, hatch, machine guns, and the machine guns are really nice. You know, I sometimes go with aftermarket stuff, but these are molded really nicely, and I can drill out the end of the barrel, so the detail's nice there. Antenna, and this is something that's kind of nice. Right here, this is the antenna tray, or whatever you want to call it. It's usually on the side of the vehicle on earlier German vehicles, And here's the antenna, and basically what they would do is flip that antenna up when they were using it, flip it down inside of this tray to protect it while it was not being used. Now, some manufacturers, like the Tamiya Panzer II I just finished, that is molded into that. And that's not a big deal, but if you wanted to have the antenna up, you'd have to do some modifications. So, you know, that's kind of a nice thing about these. Here's the upper turret, very small. And here's some of that. You can't really see it probably on the camera, but it's going to take a, what you call wash really nicely. That is some really nice, well detail going on there, as well as these bolt heads here. So, yeah, looks really nice. So that is sprue C. Sprue D. So we have upper hull parts. This is the front transmission cover, I guess you'd call it, I'm guessing. Looks like rear engine deck here. Shovel. Assuming that's an exhaust. I don't know what that is. We'll find out when we get further along. Fire extinguisher, muffler maybe? Yeah, it looks like mufflers. With exhaust tips sticking out there. Crowbar, axe, small fittings here. More exhaust parts there. The other halves. And then we have this upper front hull here, I'm guessing. The driver area. But all very nicely detailed and molded. Then we have the clear sprue, which is the only sprue that has parts that are not used for this version. So this is sprue W and sprue K, and it looks like a lot of vision ports and the like, as well as some other parts. Some looks like some hinge parts or something, probably for these vision flaps and stuff. So yeah, that looks pretty groovy. Clear parts are just really hard to see until they get paint on them, but just in moving them around, there's some nice detail on them. So don't foresee any problems with those, but those are pretty nice. I forgot to mention, all these parts are come in plastic bags. I just like to take them off beforehand because people don't want to see me unwrapping them, but everything comes individually wrapped in a plastic bag. Here's the lower hull here. Again, nicely detailed. Nice detail even underneath. That is one tiny vehicle, I gotta say. But yeah, it looks really cool. I like that the sides are molded on. You know, generally whenever they're like multi-part lower hulls, they're engineered in a way that they can be easily assembled, but when it's not really necessary, this is kind of nice. So that is the lower hull. And we have the magic tracks, the ultra tiny Panzer I tracks. So I'm not going to open this up yet till I'm ready to start gluing stuff together, but magic tracks, really nice because they're all just ready to go. There's no cleanup, no sanding, no cutting off of sprues, any of that kind of stuff. You just get them out of the bag, start gluing them together. So that's kind of nice. But anyway, they look good. Typical for Dragon, the good old magic tracks. And then last we have the photo etch parts, of which there are 2, 4, 6, 8 parts. So not bad at all. And it's all kind of larger stuff. And then we have the decals here, the markings. And the one I'm going to be doing, I believe, uses these 833s here. So, but nothing really to write home about there. It's in there, what you call photo etch and decals. But looks good. Alright, so there you go. That's the end of the first video in this series of the Dragon 1/35 scale Panzerkampfwagen I Ausf A. If you liked this video and you want to keep up with the build and see what's going on, Think about hitting the subscribe button if you haven't already, maybe notifications so you know when the next video comes out. So stay tuned. Next time we'll get cracking on building this kit. So as always, thanks for watching Plastic Models by a Regular Dude, and I will see you all later.